South Luangwa. Dusk. A male lion lies stretched beside a low mound of disturbed earth, his mane dulled with dust, his body pressed into the fading heat of the ground. He does not flinch at the sound of the vehicle approaching. He does not lift his head. Only the slow rise and fall of his chest shows he is alive. There are no signs of struggle nearby. No carcass, no blood. Just the mound, oddly rounded, covered with fine, dry soil, and the lion unmoving beside it. Ranger Kalale steps from the vehicle, keeping his distance. He doesn't reach for his radio. Don't call out. The lion offers no warning, no growl, not even a twitch of the tail. Kalale has tracked lions through flood and famine, followed them through grass fires and found them nursing wounds. But this is different. The stillness is not fear, not resting. It is the kind of silence that comes after something has ended. The mound draws his eyes again. It is shallow, no more than a foot tall. The edges roughly shaped by claws, not tools. Something small lies beneath it, something the lion buried himself. Kalale moves a few steps closer, carefully, watching for any shift in posture. The lion's eyes are open now, but he does not rise. He only watches. For a long moment the two remain like that, man and lion, breathing the same dust-heavy air in a pocket of quiet that feels suspended from time. Then, slowly, Kalale kneels at a respectful distance. He does not speak. He only looks. A paw print near the mound confirms it, smaller than the male's, too large to be prey, too soft to have been long exposed. A cub, and near it, a faint streak of blood already baked dry. Kalale feels it settle in his chest. Whatever happened here, it ended quickly, and the lion had not left since. He writes it down in his notebook, hand steady. Adult male, estimated 6 years, found beside a shallow burial mound. No food, no pride, no movement. The facts feel cold, but they are the only thing he can carry back to camp tonight. He returns to the vehicle. As he drives off, the lion's gaze follows, but his body does not. The sun dips below the trees, casting long shadows across the field. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls once, then goes quiet. That night at the station, Kalale sits quietly at the edge of the fire while the others talk. When asked, he says only, "I found a male alone by the river. There was something buried beside him." He didn't move. The room falls silent for a moment. Then conversation picks up again. Most assume it was a kill. Others say it might have been a rival cub. The bush is full of stories. Kalale doesn't correct them. But in the quiet of his tent he replays the image again and again. The heavy body, the dust-covered mane, the mound just barely taller than the grass, shaped not by human hands, but by claws. Lions don't bury their young. They don't mourn like people. But he's seen enough to know they remember. They wait. They return. Morning will tell him more. If the lion is still there, something deep has broken. If he's gone, then whatever needs to be witnessed is over. In the final hour before sleep, he adds one more line to his notes. Lion made no attempt to leave. Possible emotional response. Will reassess at dawn. He doesn't say grief. He doesn't say loss. Those words are too large for paper. But he writes what matters. The lion had a choice to leave, and he didn't. And if he doesn't leave by morning, something in him still hasn't let go. South Luangwa, early morning. The grass holds the night's damp along its tips, and the light is still gray when Kalale returns. He parks farther back this time, out of the lion's line of sight, though he doubts it matters. The mound is still there, and so is the lion. Nothing has changed. He's in the same position, curled along the edge of the earth as if guarding it or simply unable to leave. His head rests on his front paws, his eyes half closed. Not in sleep, just waiting. Kalale steps forward slowly. The breeze moves gently between the trees, bringing the scent of dry leaves and old fur. He watches the lion's ribcage rise once, then again, alive but worn, the same as yesterday. Then he sees it, a scrap of flesh near the edge of the mound, disturbed during the night. Something small had tried to feed and failed, a jackal, maybe, or a hyena too cautious to test the lion's silence. The lion's paw rests only inches from the disturbed patch. The soil has been pressed again, smoothed by a heavy body circling and lying back down. Kilele steps closer. The mound isn't deep. A slight shift in the surface reveals a curled paw beneath the loose earth, smaller than his hand, pale, still. It's a cub, one, no older than a few months, half buried but not forgotten. The rest of the body lies just below, covered but not carefully, just enough to hold it from the flies. A lion had done this, had scraped earth over its body with thick claws, then stayed to watch it. All night. Kilele breathes quietly. He doesn't uncover more. There's no need. What's there is clear, and what it means, even more so. The lion opens one eye barely, then closes it again. His breathing stays shallow. He does not threaten, and he does not leave. That's what matters. A shift in wind carries the scent of rot, faint but rising. The cub's body won't hold much longer, and still the lion doesn't move. Kilele crouches nearby, pulling his notebook again from the side of his belt. He adds only 2 lines. Cub confirmed. Remains visible. Male maintains position. Possible hunger stress. He watches the lion's sides, thinner now than the day before. No visible wounds, but the hollowness is there, stretched tight across his flanks. If he does not eat today, he may not have the strength to in 2 days' time, and if he doesn't leave by then, he might not leave at all. A soft rustle rises from the scrub behind them. A bird calls twice, cautious, then stops. Nothing else stirs. The land is holding its breath. Kilele glances once more toward the burial. The cub's tail, or what remains of it, curls limply along the surface, the tip singed by sun and soil. The lion has not turned to it. He simply remains beside it, unmoving. The ranger turns away, stepping softly back through the grass. Each step feels heavier than the last. There's no intervention yet, no rescue. The lion is not trapped, not bleeding, not surrounded. He has simply chosen this spot, and the weight of that choice is not his to break. He reaches the vehicle and rests one hand on the side panel before climbing in. There are no words he can say to the team yet. No recommendation to offer. If the lion chooses to leave, he will. If not, then they will have to decide soon whether to help a creature that may not want help. By midday, heat will lift from the earth again. The flies will return, and the smell will rise with them. Kilele stays parked for a while longer. He doesn't open his radio. He simply watches the lion and the earth between them. The lion does not move. South Luangwa, 3rd morning. The earth around the shallow mound has hardened slightly in the heat, but the shape remains. The lion is still there. Kilele marks the day in his log. Day 3. No movement beyond a few steps in a circle. No feeding, no departure. Each day the ranger arrives at a greater distance. The lion no longer watches him arrive. His eyes remain half shut, his breathing slower now. Twice Kilele has seen him stand, not to stretch, not to walk, but to circle the mound once before settling back down beside it. A ritual now, a routine. He doesn't leave, not even to drink. The closest water lies 100 meters downhill. He went there once, slowly, the first night, and then never again. The cub's tail is gone now, taken by the wind or perhaps by something braver in the night, but the rest remains untouched. The grave is shallow, but the lion watches it still. When flies gather too thick, he rises enough to scatter them. When the sun is harsh, he shifts his body to cast shade over the mound. These are not instincts of hunger or dominance. They are movements of refusal, of holding on, Kilele keeps his team away. No motors, no scent, no pressure. He checks from a rise in the land, through binoculars. A presence, but distant. He knows now what they are seeing, not just an animal staying with death, but an animal choosing not to leave it. Not yet. Late in the afternoon, the wind changes, dry and sharp. A hyena appears from the northern ridge, slow, confident, nose lifted. It stops 30 feet away from the lion, sniffing. It doesn't approach the mound directly. It circles first. Watching. The lion lifts his head. His ears do not flick. His body does not rise. For a moment it seems he won't react at all. Then he stands. Not quickly, not with strength, but with finality. One paw, then the other. His body is thin now, the ribs carved deeply, the shoulder muscles visible beneath the dust. But when he steps forward, the hyena stops. One more step, and the hyena turns. Not chased, not attacked, just refused. The lion stands between the scavenger and the mound until the wind shifts again and the scent of rotting earth moves elsewhere. Then he lies back down, a few feet forward now, directly between the grave and whatever may come next. Kilele notes it all in the journal. Hyena deterred, no physical aggression. Male held position until the threat passed. Still no food or full hydration. Movement is minimal. He considers bringing meat, but he knows better. If it's offered now, it might not be taken. Or worse, it might bring others. And the lion cannot defend both the cub and himself forever. By nightfall, the temperature drops slightly. The lion curls beside the mound again, tail tucked tight, breath shallow. His mane, once dark and thick, is thinning at the edges. Hunger dulls him. But still, he does not leave. Kilele sleeps with his boots near the door in case he needs to return fast. But the night remains still. On the fourth morning, dew clings again to the short grass. And the mound has settled slightly under its own weight. The lion's paw rests gently against it. No pressure, just contact me. A final tether. Kilele doesn't get closer than usual. He watches from the hilltop and waits. The lion does not stand today, but he is not gone. Not yet. There's no sign of pride, no movement through the southern edge where the tracks once came. It's just this place now. One body above the ground and one below, neither moving. He writes the same line in his log as before, but slower. Still present, not feeding, still guarding. If the lion doesn't eat tomorrow, Kilele will have to decide. But today, the lion still chooses to stay. South Luangwa, late afternoon. The sun hangs low, casting long streaks of gold between the trees. Kilele scans the brush line just beyond the lion's resting place. The male has not moved since this morning. His flank rises faintly, then sinks again, slower than before. The grave beside him has darkened, the top layer of soil hardened under days of heat. The scent of decay is faint now, buried beneath dust and memory. Kilele adjusts his binoculars. He sees a flicker of motion just beyond the edge of the clearing, where tall grass meets a line of thorn bush. Something small, unsteady. A cub. At first, it is only a silhouette, barely taller than the shrubs around it, its body narrow and trembling. It does not call. It does not cry. It watches. From the cover of the brush, it lowers its head and sniffs at the soil. Then it looks up again, ears twitching, eyes fixed on the male lion in the clearing. Kilele breathes in, quietly. The second cub. Still alive. The cub steps forward, one paw at a time, then halts. Its body sways slightly, ribs showing through a thin hide. Its tail is frayed, the tip bare. It looks toward the lion again but does not move closer. The male does not react. Whether he's aware of the cub or not is unclear. His head remains low, eyes closed. If he senses the arrival, he gives no sign. The cub remains at the edge of the clearing for nearly an hour. It settles on its belly, paws stretched out in front, chin resting low. It doesn't take its eyes off the lion. But it never moves closer, not even once. Kilele lowers the binoculars slowly. His chest tightens as he watches the distance between them. Not just the physical space, but the invisible one. The cub has not approached the grave, has not approached the lion. Something is holding it back. He thinks about what it means. If the cub had been hiding nearby all this time, it must have survived alone for at least 2 nights, possibly longer. It's thin, but not collapsed. Lost, but not entirely broken. The instinct to stay near is there, but the instinct to approach is not. Not yet. As the sun dips lower, the cub stands again. It turns once in a slow circle, sniffing at the air, then settles back into the same spot. Closer now than before, but still behind the brush. The lion shifts slightly. One paw slides forward across the dirt, claws barely scraping the hardened earth. His ears flick once. He exhales through his nose. He may have heard it. Kilele considers whether to step in, whether to help the cub directly, bring food, attempt care, intervene. But he knows the danger of disrupting this fragile thread. The cub is not in collapse. The lion is not yet down. Their choices are not his to make, not yet. The ranger remains on the ridge as the last light fades. He watches as the cub curls into itself, body pressed low to the earth, eyes still on the grave. Its gaze never wavers. The lion does not move again. 2 shapes, one near death, one on the edge of life, neither ready to close the space between them. Kilele writes it down carefully. Second cub observed. Thin, cautious, no approach. Male did not respond. Grave undisturbed. Watch continues. He closes the notebook and rests his hands on the wheel, waiting a few more minutes before starting the engine. The sound is distant now, muted by the rising dusk. In the quiet that follows, the only movement comes from wind through the tall grass. The cub lifts its head once more, staring into the clearing, then lowers it again and waits. South Luangwa, dawn. The light spreads gently across the clearing, painting the grass in silver. The grave remains undisturbed. The lion lies beside it, his body curled with the same slow, breathless tension of days past. But something has changed. The cub has moved. Where it once watched from the brush, it now stands partway across the clearing, barely 20 paces from the lion. It does not walk directly. Its path is slow, curved, uncertain. Every few steps it lowers its body to the ground, as if unsure whether to continue. Its head hangs low, nose to the dust, ears flat. The space between them is closing, not in confidence, but in surrender. Kilele watches from the slope as the cub halts again. It stands motionless for minutes. Then, step by careful step, it inches forward. The lion does not rise. His ears flick once, but his eyes remain closed. His ribs move faintly. There is no warning in his posture, no tension. He knows something is near, and this time, he does not push it away. The cub lowers itself completely to the ground just a few feet away from him. Then it waits again. The air is quiet. The only sound is the rustling of light wind across the grass. Kilele leans forward, barely breathing. At last, the cub crawls closer, inch by inch, until its muzzle touches the lion's leg. The lion lifts his head. For a moment he stares down, not with recognition, not with confusion, only with stillness. His body does not move. His expression does not change. He simply watches. The cub presses its head gently into the lion's foreleg and stays there. The lion does not flinch. He lowers his head again, this time not onto the ground but over the cub's back. Not crushing, not possessive, just resting. A soft fold of mane falls over the cub's thin shoulder. There is no sound, no resistance, just breath and contact. Kilele exhales slowly. This is the first time the lion has accepted any living presence since he found the grave. For 4 days he had turned away all sound, all movement, all threat. But now he allows this one to stay. The cub makes a small sound, not a call, not a cry, but a short, closed whimper, muffled against the lion's fur. Its body trembles once, then goes still. The lion shifts slightly, his foreleg folding to hold the cub in. It is not an embrace. It is not comfortable in a human sense, but it is a choice, and that is enough. Kilele notes it all carefully in his book. Cub approached, contact made, male accepted proximity, no aggression, prolonged resting posture. First physical interaction. The day warms slowly. Dust lifts into the air with each breeze. The lion and the cub remain pressed together in a quiet tangle of ribs and bone and loss. The mound beside them is untouched, but something has turned. Kilele knows this moment is fragile. The cub is still weak. The lion is still starving. They may not survive, but they are no longer alone. He marks the grave from a distance with a loose stone. Not to interfere, only to remember. Then he returns to the vehicle, leaving them in the shade of the clearing. The last thing he sees before he turns away is the cub curling its body more tightly into the lion's chest, not approaching any more. Now, staying. South Luangwa, mid-morning. The acacia's thin shadow stretches across the clearing, reaching just enough to shade the edge of the grave. Dust lifts in low spirals, caught in the warmth of rising air. The lion lies exactly where he did the day before. But now the cub rests against him, not on top of his foreleg, not tucked beneath him, but beside him, mirroring the same shape, flank to flank. Their bodies rise and fall out of rhythm. The cub's breath is faster, shallower, but the closeness is deliberate now. The distance that once held them apart has gone quiet. The mound between them and the tree has begun to collapse ever so slightly inward. The cub glances at it from time to time, eyes soft, expression unreadable. Then it lowers its head again, as if responding to something unspoken. The lion shifts, pressing his paw into the dry earth, claws half extended. He stretches once, then draws himself closer to the cub, not with strength but with the weight of a body still refusing to give up. He leans gently, not over, but beside, and lowers his massive head until it rests along the same angle as the cub's. Kilele watches from the edge of the ridge, hidden in the shade of a tamarind grove. He has not approached in nearly 2 days now. His presence, even from afar, is measured. A single movement, a single footfall, might disrupt the delicate stillness forming between these two. He scribbles notes slowly. Cub continues contact. Male shows proximity behavior. Head lowered beside cub's. No sign of stress. Mound stable. No threat presence. It isn't language that holds the moment, nor logic. The lion could have walked away days ago. The cub could have fled, but neither has. Now they lie like shadows, twin outlines in the dust, broken in different ways but still holding together. A gust of wind kicks up around them. The cub flinches slightly, blinking at the grit, and nestles further into the lion's ribs. The older lion's ear twitches. His tail flicks once, then stills. His body, thinner now than even Kilele expected, bears no open wounds, only time and grief worn into skin. The breeze shifts a second time. A few dried leaves skitter across the clearing. One lands at the edge of the grave, where the soil has begun to pull apart at the corners. The lion doesn't look, but the cub does. It rises slowly onto its elbows, eyes fixed on the small dip in the soil. Then it lowers itself again. Not in fear, not in confusion, just in recognition. There's something about the way they lie there, not just beside each other but beside something else. The grave remains the center, not just of the space, but of the silence. And now the cub, like the father, lies with its nose just inches from the earth. A mirrored posture, unspoken, uncoached. Kilale's voice is barely audible in the radio when he reports it. Cub, mimicking position. Contact consistent. Behavioral signs suggest imprinting or mourning response. No aggressive indicators. He says nothing more. By afternoon, the sun slips behind a thin band of cloud, muting the heat. The clearing is quiet. No scavengers have returned. No other lions have passed. It is still just the three of them. One above, one beside, and one below. The lion shifts once more. This time his body leans closer to the cub, their shoulders brushing fully. His head lowers, rests in the dust, and stays. No more flick of the tail, no more twitching of the ear, just stillness and the warm, fragile presence of the cub at his side. Kilale watches until the light begins to change. There is no sound in the clearing. Only the soft breath of two animals who have stopped looking for anything else. South Luangwa. Sunrise. A pale band of light spills across the clearing, brushing the grass with gold. The acacia stands quiet. The air is still cool, holding the silence of a night undisturbed. From the ridge above, Kilale lifts his binoculars, already expecting stillness. But something moves. The lion is standing. It is not the rushed, alert rise of threat or hunger. It is slow, unsteady. His bones shift beneath his coat, spine arching, ribs sharp. He stands fully for the first time in days, his paws heavy in the dust beside the mound. The cub remains lying down, pressed against the earth, head low. Kilale straightens, watching intently. The lion doesn't leave immediately. He lowers his head and gently nudges the cub with his nose. The cub stirs, lifting its face toward him. Then, for the first time, the lion licks the cub's head. It is a slow, deliberate motion. His tongue passes once across the cub's fur, then again, pausing afterward as if the act itself carried weight. The cub blinks, then rises shakily, moving to stand beside him. Kilale feels a shift in his chest, not surprise, not relief, but a quiet ache. He scribbles fast, first grooming behavior, contact voluntary, cub responsive, male standing without threat. The lion turns slightly, body now angled away from the grave. The cub follows, its legs stiff from days curled on the ground. They move a few feet together, then stop. The lion looks back. His eyes find the mound. The earth is sun-cracked now, the slight rise barely holding its shape. A few insects hover above the soil. The wind lifts dust at its edges. Nothing else marks it. No stone, no claw scrape, no fur. But the lion does not need a marker. He knows what lies beneath. For a moment he stays like that, not fully turned, not fully gone, just facing it. Then, with a slow exhale, he lets out a sound. It is not a roar. It is not meant to carry. It is low and raw, a rumble pulled from the center of his body, more breath than voice, more memory than warning. A soft, broken sound. It lasts only a few seconds, then fades into the morning. Kilale writes nothing now. His hand stops moving. Some things cannot be noted with numbers or terms. The lion turns forward again, and this time he walks. Not fast, not strong, but forward. The cub follows a few steps behind, keeping close, brushing against his flank whenever the path dips. Their shapes move slowly across the clearing, paws sinking into old tracks. They do not look back again. Kilale watches until their figures slip into the low brush. No pride waits there, no water, no safety, but still they go, away from the grave, away from the days of stillness. Something in them has changed. He marks the grave with a second stone, placed gently at its corner, not to disturb, just to remember. Then he radios in, male departed with cub, grave left undisturbed. Movement is slow but voluntary. Vocalization noted. Will continue tracking at a distance. As the sun climbs higher, the breeze returns. It curls through the grass, lifting the top layer of dust from the grave, smoothing the outlines of what had held them there. Above it, nothing stirs. But somewhere in the bush, a lion walks again, carrying what cannot be spoken. And behind him, the cub follows. South Luangwa, late morning. The light has settled into warmth now, stretched across the dry clearing like a soft blanket. The grave remains untouched. The shallow mound, once the center of everything, is smaller now, not because it has been disturbed, but because time and wind have worn its edges. 2 stones sit at its corners, placed quietly by a ranger's hand. Around it, only paw prints remain. They are deep, wide, overlapping. The prints of a full-grown lion and the softer, smaller tracks of a cub. They form a rough arc, beginning at the edge of the grave and moving slowly outward, leading toward the shade that lines the eastern tree line. Kilele stands at a distance, still and silent. He had arrived early, unsure if the lion would still be near, unsure if the cub had survived the night. But the grave was empty when he came. Empty of watchers, not meaning. The lion and cub had already begun walking. They move through the low brush now, visible between gaps in the trees. The lion's steps are slow but certain. The cub keeps pace behind him, weaving gently between his legs, close enough to stay covered by his shadow. Every few paces, the lion pauses. Not to look back, that part is done. But to rest. His weight shifts carefully with each step forward, no longer the gait of grief, but of weakness endured. Kilele watches them disappear and return again, their shapes blinking in and out of view through tall grass. They don't travel fast, but they travel together. One older, hollowed by loss, one younger, thinned by survival. Neither fully strong, but both are still moving. As they reach the edge of the clearing, the cub pauses. It turns its head once, looking back across the space they'd come from. The lion does not. He stands, facing the trees, body angled toward the deeper bush. His ears flick against flies. His tail shifts once. The cub lingers. Kilele lowers his binoculars. There is no ceremony, no sound, no final glance from the lion. Just the slow, deliberate crossing from where death had held them into where life still waited. The cub follows. Their tracks remain behind, pressed into dry earth, side by side. Kilele walks to them slowly, careful not to blur their shape. He stops beside the grave, the stones still holding, the air quiet. He kneels just long enough to brush the dust away from the edge of one paw print, the smaller one. They could have died here, both of them. No food, no water, no protection, but they didn't. They stayed long enough to let go, and now they've chosen to leave, not healed, not whole, but alive. He writes the last entry in his notebook without lifting his eyes. Grave left undisturbed. Male departed with the cub at sunrise. No sign of return. Tracks indicate movement southeast. Condition unknown. Bond confirmed. Then he closes the book. The clearing is empty now, but it holds the shape of what happened. A lion that mourned. A cub that waited. A choice made together, quietly. Wind stirs again through the grass, bending the dry stalks. Dust lifts in soft spirals over the mound. The sky above is wide, cloudless, and steady. Kilele takes one last look at the fading trail, then turns back toward the ridge. The grave stays behind. But the living did not. And the story, the quiet one, the real one, walked away on 4 legs.